Hello and welcome to the Sales Lab from Homebridge Financial, where we discuss the best sales ideas, strategies, and solutions for today's housing market. Our program is designed to share the best practices in market intelligence with builders and new home sales professionals so you can find success regardless of market conditions. Our host is Anthony Grast, National Sales Director for Homebridge Financial's Builder Division, who will lead in today's conversation. Subscribe to this podcast or bookmark this link so you can find your way back for future episodes. And now our host, Anthony.
Welcome to the Sales Lab from Homebridge Financial, where we discuss the best sales ideas, strategies, and solutions for today's market. My name is Anthony Grast. I'm host of today's program. Our topic today is all about this year's shift to a virtual selling environment. Now, this has been something that's been happening for a while here, but COVID really forced us to change how we sell and how buyers buy. But now, in addition, demographics are changing as well as we get into the millennial buyer segment. Now, millennials, you may not be aware of this, represent over 40% of new home buyers today. And they're also technology natives, meaning they grew up with technology, they're used to technology. So I'm not sure how much COVID has impacted their shopping or how they look for homes. But some questions I had today were really, how do we engage and retain buyers in this environment? How do we sell homes, in this new online environment? And is this a temporary change, or is this something that's going to stick going forward? So to answer these questions, I went through and was thinking, who's the best person to have on our program today? And I invited Ronda Conger on to our program. Thanks for being here, Ronda.
Oh, I am so excited. And this is my topic. Like, I am right in the middle of all this, and I think about it all day long, all night. Like, I love, love, love. So I am excited to dive in and talk about, how people are buying and what does this look like. So I'm ready, Anthony. Thank you.
Oh, well, this is the topic of the day, but let me give for those listening who don't know Ronda. Ronda's the vice president of CBH Homes in Boise, Idaho. She's been there for 19 years, and she has done a phenomenal job guiding and leading their company to the number one position in the state. And what really stands out to me, and as somebody who's observed CBH Homes for years, is how they implement new technologies, they create new processes, new sales strategies, always on the edge of innovation. Now, being on the edge of innovation also means you make mistakes, but always innovating, trying to improve. So I thought this is a great person to have on, and that's what we did. That's what I did by having Ronda here today. Now, Ronda, CBH, again, has always been an innovator. And an innovator is the term I use for somebody who just tries brand new things. And even before COVID, you were already trying online strategies such as Buy It Now and other tools. What did you see in the market that made you start to look at changing your strategies online?
So I think I always look at it, I always blame Curious George, by the way, that guy, the monkey in the book. I read way too many of them as a small child, evidently. So I'm very curious. And I feel like I'm always on the hunt, and our team, our company, we are always on the hunt for better. Right. So, whether that's I'm going to IBS, I'm going to PCBC, I'm reading, I'm learning, I'm kind of watching behaviors. And I think that if you think about this was all coming towards home building. We were all just kind of dragging our feet, and people like to stay comfy and do what they've always done, I believe. But we started looking we kind of have this rule in our marketing department that we're always looking outside of our industry, and what are people doing, and what do they like, and what's sticking and what's staying. And, I think it's interesting. We kind of looked at it and said, look at Airbnb, right? You're allowed to go into someone's home with a code. You can go in, you can leave without ever seeing anyone, talking to anyone. So we use that for our tour now, as far as putting a lock on all of our spec homes. You can go in whenever you want. And then I would tell you other inspiration that kind of helps pushed our innovation, which was the buy online, would be Carvana. Was the whole Carvana. If you haven't been to the Carvana website, you need to go. And I was like, if you can buy a car online, we can buy a house online. Right? So
absolutely.
And so we just We're always playing and trying, and we're always looking out to see what's possible and then bringing it to the home building industry.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that your willingness to look outside the industry for ideas. And I often do that. I have a son who works for DocuSign, another one in another organization. And I'm always looking and like, okay, if I'm on Amazon or I'm here, are these things that can apply to our industry? In fact, I just bought a car, I think, online, and hopefully, well, they took my money. I just don't have the car yet. But my point is I chose to do it to simplify the process. Now we'll get into that. We'll get into that a little later here on some other questions because I want to dig deeper into that.
Let's go.
But you started early with the innovation, trying things. Okay. And then COVID hit, right? And that changed the whole world. That changed everything. There were no open houses. Everything moved online. Everybody was scrambling. I think it was more of a scramble for the builders than it really was for the buyers, because I think buyers were already in that mindset of online research and shopping. Oh, yeah. But in the last year, what are the big changes you and your team have had to make in the past year? I mean, how has the sales process changed for you?
So, it was interesting for us when we started the locks. Let's start with the locks. When we started the locks, we bought 10. I always say try in small batches. Don't do everything at once, right? Like as a home builder, we're always into small batches. Try, tweak, try, so we had bought 10. That went well. We bought 100 locks because we believe in sitting inventory. It's what we do. We're a production builder. So then we bought 100 locks. Well, then COVID hit. And I have to tell you, our showings went through the roof. People were like, well, I can get into their homes because no one's there. I can still see things without being with anyone. So we added 200 more locks. I think it was like April 1st. We were like, wow, every single one of our inventory homes needs a lock on it because people want in. Okay. So we understood that quickly. Mm-hmm. Interesting. We had launched buy online probably in January, maybe December or January. And then COVID hits, mid-March. And when we first launched it, I think maybe we had a couple. It wasn't, people were like playing with it, putting it in their shopping cart, but not really doing it. And then COVID hit and we saw our numbers uptick. Not as many as you would think, but people were trying it and doing it. What we learned through this whole thing is that people will tour on their own if you allow them and you set it up for them. Mm-hmm. People will buy. The other component, Anthony, that I think really was huge is that we also already had our online sales team. So our online sales team was already there, already in the pocket, virtually FaceTiming, Zooming, doing all of these appointments. Right? Very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. We also, as a company, and this is kind of non-sales related, but as of April 1st, we quickly pivoted and we did all of our new home orientations, our walkthroughs, iPad, Zoom, FaceTime with the buyer so that we didn't have them together, right? Same with our warranty appointments. We did everything through Zoom. So I just think, it's interesting. We had a motto that we literally put everywhere in our building, in our emails. And the motto for COVID was this. Number one, we wanted to survive. Mm-hmm. We knew that we had to adapt. We knew it. We had to adapt quickly. We then knew that we wanted to advance. We were going to adapt faster than anyone. We were going to advance so then we could thrive. And those were the 4 words that got us through COVID. It was literally how we looked at everything. So I would say you're right in the sense that we were ready. It just magnified everything even that much more faster. There's a word, it was in an article, I think it was Bob Iger of the Walt Disney Company. He said the one word that will be talked about through COVID in this last year will be accelerate. Everything that you were going to do will be accelerated, right? And that's how we looked at it.
Acceleration is the right word. It was sort of like we were all in swim training and then all of a sudden we got punted into the pool. So, but I think, there's been some great lessons learned. And I want to pause for a minute because you talked about Zoom meetings and people always have inhibitions about being on video and talking on camera. How did the buyers accept that?
They were great. You don't have a choice. I hate to say this, and this is what I think is so interesting. If you want a new home, if you want to buy a home, we as humans still need a connection. right? And so we just quickly flipped to virtual sales appointments. Right. And so I actually think, I think it's interesting. We're always asking for more videos of our sales team, of our teams in general. And this totally was like a gift because now they're doing more than they've ever done. And now it's just natural because they've had a year of practice. So I think the buyers were probably waiting for us to get there. And then from a time saving aspect, from a faster connection, easier, right? Like to me, it's a win-win. It's absolutely.
And I think you're spot on. I think buyers were waiting for us to become virtual in this respect, because time is so critical to people. And the one thing I've noticed, especially with my sales organization, is efficiency. Our efficiency has picked way up. What do I mean by that? It's so much easier to schedule 15 to 30 minutes with somebody on video. He doesn't have to drive to park to do things. And again, I'm not talking touring the home, but I mean the initial interactions and seeing things. Man, it has been so efficient, and we've noticed a major pickup on there. So you talked about you already had a virtual sales team, or an online sales team, and you were already engaging buyers. So what did you do with the rest of your sales team? How did they adjust?
How we work is that our online sales team is the first line of defense. So everything that comes in through the website goes through them, and then they're cycling it out to each sales center and to make appointments for our team. So to us, we want to qualify you quickly when you enter our site. We want to qualify you very quickly, and then we want to get you in front of a sales representation, and that's through an appointment. So all day long, our sales teams are in appointments, and it's to me the smartest way, right? It's not about luck or hope or who walks in your door. We were already doing this before COVID, so just know that our days were already spent with appointments, but now it's even more so, right? Because everyone's going through your website, going digital, wants to do it virtual from that type of thing. I think what it's interesting with salespeople, when we did the buy online, we're like, well, what am I going to do? How does this work? You buy online. Do you even need me? What does this work? And I was like, no, you're looking at it all wrong. In my opinion, this is about urgency, about meeting your buyer where they are. And let's just say the buyer talks to you in an appointment at 2:00 that day, and they're not entirely sure. So they go home, they have dinner with their husband, they talk it out. And let's just say at 9 p.m., they're like, this is it. This is the house that we want. So our whole thing was, well, then you know what you can say to them is click buy now, do your reservation, grab it so you can sleep like a baby tonight, knowing that you have the house. You don't need to text anyone, call anyone, email, frantically make an appointment for the morning or do whatever. You're covered. You've taken the home off the market temporarily, reserved it, and you have 24 hours then to get back in touch with that salesperson to actually write it up and finish it. To me, it's all about urgency, and it's all about letting the buyer do it whenever they want. Instead of, we're only open noon to 5 or 10 to 5 or 9 to 5, so this is the only time you're going to do this. We're saying you can buy that house whenever you want.
Yeah, and it goes back to the point you made about meeting the buyer's expectations, right? Being on their schedule, and I think that is so critical. Well, I want to ask you a bit, because we're talking about online right now. Content, engaging your buyers online. What have you learned through this? What's important to engaging and keeping people online or on your site or progressing?
That's the goal. I mean, that's what we're all going for. We want people to come. We want them to obviously love what they see. Hopefully we've hit the right market and area. We deal from first-time buyer to second-time buyer to third-time buyer. We're also all over the valley. We're very blessed. So from that standpoint, we hope that you can come and find what you need on our site. So whether that's, from videos, from obviously the photography that we take, the floor plans, the interactive floor plan, we're always trying to serve up information as fast as we can. I think that's important, right? We're all impatient. We get to a website and we're like, where is it? What do we want? I don't want to make it super hard for you to find. And it's interesting what you were saying earlier. We just actually met with our ad agency on Friday, and it was always like, it's all about where are the buyers spending their most time and how do we amplify that and make that even better. And truly at the end of the day, they just want to find a quick move-in home, what's ready, right? In 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, the price point, the payment. I think that's very interesting, as you probably would agree with me. People talk in payment. Most buyers do. I want to spend $2,000 a month, $1,800 a month, whatever it is. So we talk in payments all over our site, areas, that type of thing. So in our opinion, if you want to engage your buyer, it's giving them more of what they want and making it very easy. We spend a lot of time on those two things, giving them what they want, not what we want, what they want, and then making it as easy as possible. That's it.
Yeah, no, that you're absolutely spot on that. So, when you were going through and talking about, engaging and changing your processes, what were some of the hard lessons that you learned, or some of the gold that you figured out in this last year, just in the sales process? Did you have some aha moments where, like, shoot, we should be doing this because this seems to work real well?
I think, it's interesting this whole year. I would tell you, there's two things I was saying the other day. One, stop looking back. We're not going that way. So if you want me to bring back something I used to do, I won't. Or if you think this is just a COVID thing, it's not. Right? So stop looking back. We're not going that way. And I think on the other side of it, no, I honestly feel like we were ready for this. Like we were on our way with everything that we were doing. And I think that just shows, I hope that if you can stay curious, no matter what, no matter how good you are, no matter how good the market is or what's going on, it's not about how good you are. It's not about the market. It's about, are you paying attention to people's behaviors, their age group, what they're doing, what they're using, and are you staying in line with that versus saying, well, I'm a builder and this is the only thing I'm going to do. Right. I think the other thing I said we learned is that people are going to lose their minds and do some crazy things, and it's not going to be us. We are going to stay the course, right, in what we're doing and what we believe in and how we're doing it, and that was important to us.
Yeah, I've been taught by a mentor once that it's like continual improvement and innovation, right? You're continually tinkering. And one of the wisest things that they ever said to me is they said, Anthony, you're building sandcastles. The tide is the environment. It is the cyclical nature of our business. Yeah. And it is also the economy. You cannot control that. So you cannot build your castles and just sit there. You have to continue to innovate and adapt. And this is something that you're hitting on. I mean, it's just continual innovation. Now, I want to go back to sort of selling online, because there's a lot of debate right now about selling homes online. There's a lot of resistance as well. Yeah. But I recently spoke at a Buy It Now event, and we talked about all the research, and specifically, I did a lot of research. I'm big in terms of buyer behavior, both on financing as well as the demographic shift. And I really believe this online selling, especially of real estate, is starting now. And I think it's really going to take hold in the next 2 to 3 years. Now, I don't mean it's going to supplant all sales. I'm just saying it's going to be a major part of selling going forward. And I wanted to ask you, in terms of your business, I know early on it was innovative, which means, there was some adoption. Some people did it in the cart and put house in the cart and stuff like that. But where do you see that for your business going forward? Does the online selling become more and more a part of your business, or a percentage of your sales?
That's the look we're going for. We know that's society, and the way we shop and how we do everything is going that way and has already gone that way. So I firmly believe we just keep trying to craft it and hone it. We actually call some of our online buyers, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? Why'd you just click that button? Right? Like, we want to know, were you scared? Were you freaked out? Like, and so I feel like we have to continuing to make it doable, easy. It's interesting to me. What I've heard is that times people don't feel comfortable clicking that button because they're more afraid of the process than they are of the actual buying online. So that's a great learning opportunity for us. We need to do a better job of outlining the process, because I think some people are like, well, what happens after I hit that button? Like, do you come and take all my money, or like, what happens? So I do feel like as it gets easier and people understand the whole picture and the process, and as we go along and we're still trying to adapt and learn and give good information, I think you're absolutely right. This has nowhere to go but up, and it will.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
will.
and here's why I feel that way. I mentioned earlier about millennials. And so that's the largest buyer cohort. They are technology natives. And I mean that in a good way. I am a technology immigrant. I did not grow up from day one with technology. I learned it later in my life. And so their thought process, how they shop, how they do everything is way different than me, but it's definitely on the online. Now, Zillow just had an article that they published, and I thought this was fascinating. Basically, millennials, that 49% of buyers today who are under 40 are comfortable, buying on home. So, are you starting to see a younger demographic take hold with your sales and in the behaviors?
I think it's interesting because, like I said, we're fascinated by the buy online. So when sales come through, we're all just like, who did it? What's going on? This is amazing. Like it's still great we feel that way about every sale. So you have to know that, but these are a little bit, and I am telling you, we have seen the gamut. It hasn't just been my youngies, whatever you want to call them, Gen Z, whatever, Gen X. It has been the gamut. Right. And the other day, I love this one. This is a funny one. We had a realtor do it. So a realtor was like, I didn't want my buyer to lose out on this house. So I clicked the buy online button for them. And we were like, okay, if that works, I'm in. Right.
Hey, it works, right? It works.
And
well, you're going to see more. And it's interesting not to, specifically you're in the Boise market. So yes. I see a lot of demographic data in our data that we do. So we do about 6,000 new home loans a year. So I'm able to mine that data by birth date and see sort of behaviors. So globally, not globally, but nationally, right now, about 45% of our new home loans are going to millennials, which is huge, right? So it just keeps growing. Now, specifically in your market, Boise, it's much more balanced. It's almost a third boomers, Gen X, and millennials. And without getting too deep into that, I think there's a net in migration, especially in the Boise area, that you're getting a lot of coastal citizens moving into that market, which I think is affecting those numbers. But either way, technology is here. People are using online. This is what they're doing. And you mentioned something really interesting about what buyers' expectations are. And I was reading a quote here from Diane Young of Pulte, and she said, shopping online has moved from a preference, which really is what it's been the last 10 years, to an absolute necessity. And then I was listening to a quote from Rich Barton. I don't know if you know him. He's the CEO of Zillow. He was on CNBC with Kramer. And I love what he said. He said, buyers online are looking for one-click simplicity. And that sounded more like a mobile app to me. But his second thing is he said they're online because they want to reduce obstacles in the sales process. And that's all about efficiency as I see it, right? I want to do as much as I can.
And I think that's why every step of the way, even with our online salesperson, the reason they're there first is because we believe that we can help you get where you want to go faster. You may think this is where you want to go, but we know what we have. We know our inventory. We know our pricing. We know our areas. We want to get you there faster. And then we put the locks on because we know you want to tour on your time, not on our time. You want to tour as much as you want. And then the buy online is to say, buy when you want. So it's really having to force yourself to have a very outward perspective versus it's all about me. It's funny. I've had quite a few conversations with builders over this last year. How can you do that whole tour now thing? Are you worried about your houses being vandalized? Are you worried about this? And I was like, no, I mean, vandalism is going to happen. Whether it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The lock system is very secure. We get their driver's license. We get all their information. I'm not worried about any of that. What I'm worried about is people not getting into my homes. That's what keeps me up at night. I want buyers and prospects in our homes 24/7. That's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's interesting when we're talking buy online and just online sales and online presence. As I said, I spoke at that recent event, and a lot of people loved it. a lot of people push back. And I think builders have a tendency, this is just my personal opinion, I think the paradigm is wrong. What I mean by that is there's a lot of people say, well, buy now doesn't work for real estate. And what they're thinking is I have to push a button, out pops out a purchase and sale, and everything's done. And the other thing is I have to have standing inventory. And what I have found, and what we were just discussing, is simplifying the process. Buyers want to be able to choose, research, choose, reserve, talk about their financing, and then also understand the process. So it's not that everything has to be done at once, but what I've also noticed is selling, and I'll put that in quotes, can be a whole bunch of things. It can be pre-selling homes. It can be lot reservations. It can be VIP lists for upcoming releases. There's all these things when I'm looking at behavior online, and I'm like, my gosh, this is a gold mine of building a qualified pool of future buyers and present buyers for builders. So I just wanted to add a little commentary, because I think the paradigm where push outcomes purchase and sale, I need a standing home, I think that's missing so much opportunity while people are online wanting to engage.
You are correct. I have to tell you, our online button is about saying yes to us. What you actually end up doing may look very different than what I've had several of our online people push yes, buy online to this house, and end up, once they got in front of my sales team, understanding that there was actually a better house for them 2 houses down. But they didn't know that. And so once they got in front of my sales team member, they were like, now, wait a minute, you need this, this, and this, and you want this type of payment. Oh, we got to go 2 doors down. This is the house that you want. So to me, I think if you just got out of your head and said, this buy online button is just saying yes to us as a builder, and what you end up with, we'll see.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because, if you engage them, and I think Jeff Shore says it right. The longer you leave them in the sales process, the further they get away from the emotion that brought them to you. So, we want them to engage. We want them to take ownership mentally. We want them to connect. And that's really what this is about. Now, we're right in the middle of a blistering hot market. And I summed it up the other day, and I said, this is the best market of my lifetime, but it doesn't feel that way. And what I mean by that is, we're overrun with sales leads. A lot of builders are out of inventory. Some are pre-selling, some can't pre-sale, right? There's lots going on right now. From your seat, what do you think the biggest risks or challenges are for builders going forward this year or in the next 2 years?
I think it's interesting when you look at home building right now. I would probably say, because the demand was so huge and the sales, snuck up on all of us. If you would have told us we were going to have a national pandemic and then all of a sudden we were going to sell more homes than we've ever sold, we would not believe you. We would not believe you, right? But it happened. Well, then what happens then, as you all know, simple economics, your replacement costs for all of those, your land costs, your supply costs, all your materials, right? Your trades, everything rises at a very, my favorite, one of my really old quotes, rising tide floats all boats, right? So everything rises. So think, when everything rises, your replacement costs and then actually to build and sell that home again is actually very high. So you've got to deal with all of that. I think because of COVID in this last year and the sheer demand and how quickly it went, obviously just pure shortages, right? Whether that's a window shortage, a drywall shortage, a faucet, a refrigerator, whatever that is, we're all going to feel that in some way, shape, or form. I think also everyone is running towards real estate, right? Oh my God, you can kill it in real estate and new homes and right? And so all of a sudden, you have all these people, but do you have the right people? Right? And what does your labor pool look like? And what is that? How are you retaining them and keeping them and building them and training them? So I think it's probably still all very similar to what our challenges have been. It's just how you decide as a builder and a company on how to navigate those.
Yeah, I think from an economic perspective, we have a huge wave of buyers, millennials, and in 10 years, Gen Zers coming in to the market. So we definitely will have plenty of demand. It just is a little challenging right now to build and to keep up. But right now, I think we're in a good position for the next couple of years, definitely, unless there's some massive demand shock. Last time somebody used the word demand shock was about 60 days before COVID hit. So I'm using that lightly.
Lightly.
in our discussion today. Okay, closing thoughts. First of all, loved all of your input today, Ronda. Really good stuff. Closing thoughts. If you were advising a builder today, of this new virtual world and engaging buyers, can you give us one or two must-haves that they either must be doing or must have on their website to really step into 2021?
I think a couple of things I would say. One, start small. Don't do everything at once. That's a recipe for failure. So start small, decide what's important to you. If you don't have an online team, I get an online team. If you have standing inventory and you can put some locks on it, put 5 locks on, 10 locks on, whatever that looks like. If you can comfortably get behind this buy online and you can do it, I say do it. I think you have to start small, try, tweak, small, try, right? Like I've talked to these builders and they want to do everything at once. I'm like, oh, that's a recipe for failure. I didn't do everything at once. I didn't put a lock on. I didn't do buyout, right? It was one thing after the other. Do what's right for you. In order to know that, I think you have to stay curious. You have to ask other builders. Like I loved what you said. Ask someone that's 10 years older, right? That's done all of this. Find a builder that's doing what you like. Maybe it's a similar size and go to them and say, what did that look like? How did this work? What are tips and tricks you can give me? I'm always open. I love builders to call me. I want everyone to succeed. There's no secrets here. We're all in this together. We're all going to do it a little bit different based on who we are. So just start small, one step after another, right? Stop looking back because we ain't going that way. That'd be one of my, I started that way, I'll end that way. And then stay curious, right? You have to stay curious on everything that's possible. And there's a lot. I mean, this is getting really, really fun.
Sure. I love your advice. Don't look back. And also curiosity. I think that's absolutely critical. We don't want to grow stagnant. We have to continue to try. And I like the incremental, right? Try some small things. I think that's so good. Well, Ronda, thank you so much for being on our program today. I loved your thoughts on virtual selling as well as innovation. And I hope our audience today, or our listening audience, really picked up some benefits and some ideas that they can start utilizing in their business. So for all of us here at the Sales Lab, thank you so much for being on today and have a great day.
Thanks so much, Anthony. Loved every second. Thanks for making us smarter. I love your show. Thank you.